everyone, welcome to the first video on writing learning outcomes. In this video, we are going to look at three terms that you see and use quite often, and they are goals, objectives, and learning outcomes. We will discuss how these three terms are different from each other, and then we focus on the main topic of the video today, that is learning outcomes, and what makes learning outcomes strong. Now let's get started. Goals are the general statement of a program's purposes or the largest aims of a program. While goals are general, objectives are a specific plan for how the goals will be met, or objectives refer to what teachers will provide. Learning outcomes is what students actually produce or do as a result of joining the teacher's activities. The pictures that you see on the screen illustrates how the three terms are related. So, let's look at this in this example. The goal for the program is to develop student critical thinking, creativity, or the ability to transfer knowledge. So goals are general and big ones. And in order to achieve these goals, teachers need to use such activities as analyzing samples or discussing certain topics. So the activities will be discussion and analysis. The learning outcomes is what students do when they join discussion and analysis activities. So they will do something like to discuss, to list, to compare, or to analyze. In lesson planning, objectives and learning outcomes are what we as teachers care about. However, educators and teachers are still in disagreement regarding the exact definition of objectives and learning outcomes in lesson planning, and therefore, objectives and learning outcomes are still used interchangeably. In some lesson plans you see objectives, in others you see learning outcomes. In this video, learning outcomes refers to what teachers expect their students to do after attending the lesson. More specifically, learning outcomes is a statement of specific, observable, and measurable students' performance. In writing lesson planning, many teachers use SWOBAT, SWBAT, standing for students will be able to introduce learning outcomes. And it is a nice idea to share the learning outcome or SWOBAT with the students or ask them to complete the learning outcomes. From the discussion above, you can guess what makes effective or strong learning outcomes. Now we will discuss this right now. Effective or strong learning outcomes are SMART, S-M-A-R-T, and each letter stands for one quality. First of all, SMART, S, specific. Learning outcomes must be specific or observable. They must state clearly what students have to do, and teachers can see and evaluate what students are expected to perform. In order to be specific and measurable, learning outcomes have to include action verbs in Bloom's taxonomy, which we will discuss in the next video. Next, learning outcomes should be achievable. This means provided that students attend the class and follow the teacher's instruction, they should be able to accomplish the task or learn the target language item. Learning outcomes have to relate to the content of the unit, the whole course, and the student's needs, and that means learning outcomes are relevant. Finally, all learning outcomes should indicate clearly when students' performance is expected or time-bound. In most cases, teachers use by the end of the lesson or by the end of the unit to refer to time frame or to the fact that outcome should be time-bound. So, in this short video, we have looked at the definition, the role, and the criteria of strong learning outcomes. You may now continue with video number 2 to have practical ideas about writing strong learning outcomes. So, in this video, we have looked at 3 terms: goals, objectives, and learning outcomes, and see how they are different from each other. It is important to know that goals are the biggest aims, while objectives and learning outcomes are more specific. When planning lessons, we as teachers care more about learning outcomes, what our students will be able to do after attending our lesson. In order for learning outcomes to be strong and effective, they must be SMART, or specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. One of the crucial parts of strong learning outcomes is action verbs in Bloom's taxonomy, such as list, compare, analyze, or specify. And this verb will have making learning outcome specific, observable, and measurable. For more information and ideas about Bloom taxonomy, you can watch our further video and read our articles.